Hello, my name is Captain Kelly Muniz. I'm the commanding officer of Media Relations. Thank you for coming out today, particularly with it being Halloween. We have something pretty important here to reducing our violent crime. We're going to have Chief Moore speak on this matter, as well as Jordan Lipple, who's the Vice President and Executive Board Member of Crime Stoppers. Chief Moore.
Captain Muniz, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the members of the media that are here today as we provide some information. I'm also joined by a number of other individuals from my leadership team. Behind me is Assistant Chief Alan Labrada. He's the Director of the Office of Special Operations. I'm also joined by our Chief of Detectives, Deputy Chief Chris Pitcher, as well as our Captain of our Gang Narcotics Division, Captain Lillian Carranza, here behind me. Okay, and so with this group here, we're announcing our next step and strategy in addressing the surging problem of ghost guns here in Los Angeles. A ghost gun is also known as a privately manufactured handgun or firearm. Is a weapon that's a functional firearm. It can operate as any other firearm that you can lawfully buy from a firearms dealer. The difference is that it's assembled and machined typically in a workshop or a garage or some type of a location that is unlicensed, that has no regulations, that buys these parts to weapons, and then they're called 80%ers, finishes up the last few steps to make a fully functional and untraceable firearm. There's no serial numbers on this weapon. This weapon can be moved from location to location, and its origins are completely untraceable. To talk about the growing challenge here, in 2020, we had 813 of these weapons recovered. Year to date, we've had over 1,500. That's an 85% increase in just a 2-year period of time. Additionally, when we look at the more than 6,500 firearms that have been booked into evidence, more than 2 out of every 10 are now a ghost gun. And the dangers of these untraceable firearms is that their sole reason that they exist, in my view, is that for persons who are unable to lawfully acquire a firearm, this is a means for them to carry a gun. So convicted felons, violent, dangerous individuals. This last year, or year to date, officer-involved shootings in 9 separate instances, officers have faced individuals armed with ghost guns. When you go back to 2018, just 4 short years ago, during the entire year, officer-involved shootings, there was 1 involving a ghost gun. So the guns are proliferating not only in the hands of dangerous individuals, and their numbers continue to grow, but they're also resulting in death and injuries across the city, and including endangering the lives of our police officers as well. Person in possession of a ghost gun faces federal and state charge exposure. The U.S. 18 U.S.C. 922 makes it unlawful for any person to engage in a business of importing, manufacturing, or dealing in firearms, an unlicensed dealer. Exposure on that federal case is up to 10 years of imprisonment. If the person has prior felony convictions, that number can grow to include 15 years to life in prison. So in the federal statutes, they take this matter very seriously, as they should. We are working closely with our U.S. Attorney, Martin Estrada, to pursue federal prosecutions for individuals that are manufacturing these weapons. They're manufacturing death. Secondly, there are state charges. State charges include manufacturing an assault weapon, which offers a midterm of 6 years of state prison. And then, of course, the next con in possession of a firearm has up to a 3-year prison term. And I'm thankful that here in Los Angeles, there's a municipal code also that the mere possession or sale or transfer of a ghost gun offers a misdemeanor count, which could be as much as 1 year in county jail. We're establishing this ghost gun manufacturing trafficking tip program as our next step in combating this issue. I'm thankful for the LA Crime Stoppers and as an organization who are going to work with us in providing a system for anyone who has information about a manufacturer or an assembler of these weapons. They can go to LACrimestoppers.org, or they can call a 1-800 number, 1-800-222 tips. That's 1-800-222-8477. They can be anonymous. And what will happen is each one of those tips will go out to the gun narcotics detail, that division of detectives in our gun unit, or our area narcotics investigators. And they will be investigating and following up on these tips. As tips come in and we locate individuals who are manufacturing these weapons, reward monies, hundreds of dollars, and in larger scale operations, thousands of dollars of reward payments will be made. Again, this can be done anonymously, and this can be done, and the means of accomplishing this is we believe that many people are aware of where these shops are operating. And this is a financial incentive to encourage them to report them, bring that information before us so we can remove these guns from the street. A typical manufacturer can assemble 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of these weapons in a week. The machine parts can be bought online, assembly kits can be bought online, and this is a very profitable area. And what is driving the proliferation of these weapons is simple greed. These weapons sell for many times more than the value of the weapon from a licensed gun dealer. At this point, I'd like to introduce a board member of LAPD, of LA Crime Stoppers, Jordan Lipple. Jordan?
Thanks, Chief. Again, Jordan Lipple. We're honored to be partners with LAPD on this initiative. And remember, as the Chief said, 1-800-222-TIPS. You can rename anonymous. And any questions, you can refer to our website as well, lacrimestoppers.org. Thank you.
All right, any questions for us? Relatively straightforward. Yes? Sure. Typically, an award, such like a $500 reward, would identify an individual that is manufacturing on a smaller scale. But I believe that we have others that are making a living, a livelihood, and are manufacturing in a higher volume. We're coming at this much like we do with narcotics. We know that this distribution of narcotics goes through a network, right, from drug trade organizations all the way out to a street-level dealer. Our officers are coming across guns on a daily basis, more than 6,500 guns, firearms this year to date. Those numbers are just continuing to have a heavy presence. So taking those one at a time is, again, it's counterproductive in the long run. We need to go at the mid-level and the suppliers. And while the United States is working on the commercialization of this to outlaw those gun part traffickers that are located out of state, we have state laws now that prohibit that material coming in, being imported into the state of California, and then sold on the underground market. So we want to go at the mid-level individuals, and when we reach those mid-level types of investigations, we believe that there are individuals who are involved either in the industry or involved in other criminal activity that have source and information on the street about where these weapons are being manufactured. If they will work with us, we will incentivize, just as we do with narcotics and other important areas of investigations, to incentivize people to step forward and bring this information to us so we can disrupt the supply chain. Pete.
Pete, prior to a couple months ago, the vast majority of these 80% kits were being made in states like Arizona or Nevada. Is it your belief, and that of the investigators, they are shifting manufacturing processes here now into California?
No, what's happening is the part suppliers are still out of state, but the assemblers, if you will, are ordering. We're working with the district attorney's office now to persuade MasterCard, Visa, and American Express not to allow their interstate payment systems to be used for purchases from those sites. You can go to ghostguns.com. You can readily find sellers of parts. The assembly is who we're going after. We can't stop the commerce. Apparently, the interstate commerce aspect of that is beyond our reach. But we do think we can reach and will prosecute and work with the U.S. Attorney as well as our district attorney to prosecute the assemblers of those kits once they're arriving here in the Los Angeles region.
Are all of these kits winding up in the hands of criminals without any serial numbers at all?
That's correct.
So are the manufacturers now they're basically facing a conundrum. serial numbers on them. That makes it far less attractive to any criminal who wants to buy them, because guess what? They've got, information on them.
The responsible sale and distribution of firearms. There's a well-established practice, background investigations. We know that gun laws in states such as California, which are stronger and more stringent than other parts of the country, save lives. They save officers' lives. They save domestic partners' lives. They see the instances of gun violence in the street at a much lesser level than gun laws that are much more permissive in other states outside of California. So that process is meant to restrict the possession of weapons from people who have a felonious past, who have mental health issues, who've not shown that they can responsibly carry a weapon. And these manufacturers that are subverting the system are doing solely for the purpose of profit.
Is this something that, as far as the rewards are concerned, a tip or a reward, you guys make an arrest, $200, $500, I don't know, $1,000 even. If you put a real bounty out there, you guys nail somebody and they've got 14 rifles, 15 handguns, and you're looking at them, I hate to say it, it's like Vegas. You start peeling off $100 bills, people are going to get the idea that, this might actually be profitable, and they start nailing these.
So our effort here is we're assigning $250,000 to this engagement. The effort is to establish a mechanism so that individuals who are interested in removing or are stepping forward and cooperating with us, we're interested in increasing the reward for that cooperation. We do this regularly with the distribution of narcotics, and the distribution of these firearms is costing us lives. It's endangering people on the street. It's endangering our officers, and we want to have a meaningful impact on that. We are, to our knowledge, the only agency in America that's doing this at this point, but I hope to see it find some success. We do believe that there's individuals in our communities that operate in a gray area, for lack of a better description, and have street knowledge of where these guns are coming from, and that this will motivate them to cooperate and help us. Anything else?
Is it for you detectives to deal with crime that were committed with these guns?
Well, the difficulty of it is that we see the proliferation of these guns make it easier and easier for people to have a firearm. We look at a 50% increase in robberies today than where we were 3 years ago that involve firearms. Robberies in the city of Los Angeles are actually down from where they were 3 years ago, but they're up by nearly 50% if they involve a firearm. So difficulties of these weapons is the ease of which now they're ending up in the hands of people who are ex-cons that have continued in a life of violence, have continued a life of crime, and now they can access this by purchasing them in the underground market. So now, lastly, once we have a person and we find this weapon in the hands of an individual, or we find it at a scene, because it's non-serialized, it's impossible to trace. It's just a bucket of parts. And knowing where that came from and the path of that weapon, which you can do with a regular serialized firearm, can also help us identify straw purchasers, people who are purchasing guns for the purpose of reselling them on an underground market to people who cannot lawfully possess them. It allows us to identify with serialized numbers FFL, licensed firearm dealers, that are not playing by the rules, are not following the requirements for the lawful sale and distribution of firearms. So that non-serialized component is a dangerous aspect of it. But I'll just draw attention to, when you look at the firepower, these are weapons of war. The only reason these weapons exist is to kill people. You would never go hunting, and I grew up in the South, you'd never go hunting with a weapon like this. You go hunting people with this. And so people developing this and putting it on the street to people who should not lawfully have these weapons is just a recipe for further pain and anguish and loss of life.
Chief, there's one component you're missing on this.
Only one, Pete? Okay.
You're paying money out there, getting tips, you're arresting people, but that vanishes in the wind. After these individuals are convicted and they're sent either to federal prison or the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, can we anticipate that you or we tip would hold a news conference and literally put up the faces and the names and how much time
Well, we're not going to hang up scalps, and well, because we live in America and it's a democracy, and we don't hang up scalps. But to your point of there being known consequences, we are doing that. We are providing. You'll hear us talk regularly about, for instance, the follow home, follow off bandits, where we've made more than 100 arrests, served more than 300 search warrants, where robbery homicide detectives and that team has been in existence now for just approaching a 1-year period. Have made a marked impact on individuals who have been preying upon people by following off of these restaurants and taverns and other locations. And those individuals were talking about what filings and what criminal prosecutions were achieving both in federal court as well as in the state court. Now, ultimately, these are. I agree with you that people knowing that there are consequences can be the best deterrent. And we will, as we make arrests here from this program, we will bring visibility to that. May not give you a photograph, but we'll give you the 9 lines.
Chief,
yes.
With the advent and increasing advancing technology, case in point, 3D printing, you can 3D print into metal now.
Sure.
So how does that affect this ghost gun market, and how does it make it harder to track and trace? Case in point was, I think, 3 years ago, someone famously posted a digital file that you could download and print a gun.
Right.
So how can we combat that?
Well,
along with this.
Yeah. So I think you're right. The ability for a do-it-yourselfer, to an entrepreneur to pick up the manufacturing equipment. Again, you can go online and you can purchase 3D printers. You can go online and get assembly kits and instructions. And if you got a little mechanical capabilities, you can produce a weapon that is capable of killing people. And the way of which deterring that is through enforcement, and having consequences for individuals engaged in that. What's driving most people, and I believe, in manufacturing these weapons is simple greed. So how do you go against greed? You've got to establish a counterpoint that it's not worth the crime. It's not worth the crime. It's not worth the time they're going to face if they engage in this conduct. And we recognize that this will not solve the entire problem, but it's another step in a direction to stop the proliferation of these weapons that continues to represent a significant challenge of safety in our community and also safety of our officers. So if we can deter and cut this by 10%, 20%, 30%, then we've made a step of progress in that direction.
Chief, in regards to the weapons on display, the photos of these seizures, what can you tell us? Are these recent seizures?
So I'm going to introduce Captain Carranza. And I think she's probably in the best position to detail this and give you a storyboard of what is it before you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lillian Carranza. I'm the commanding officer of Gang and Narcotics Division. And photos that are depicted here, they are recent seizures by our Gun and Narcotics Division in partnership with other law enforcement agencies, as well as our patrol officers in the field.
Guns on the left.
The guns on the left, I know that Detective Pat Hoffman is more intimately aware of to each one of these weapons, so I will let him speak. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Detective Pat Hoffman. I work Gang and Narcotics Division, the gun unit. The guns on display here were seized, all part of one case that came out of our Foothill area. It happened about a year ago. Every gun you're going to see on the table is a ghost gun. We have the various stages of ghost guns, from the intimacy level where you buy the box, the actual jig, and the kit, which is generally in the city of Los Angeles. 90% of the ghost guns we see citywide are responsible for polymer 80. You can buy that kit on the internet, which is the box in the right-hand corner. They will send it to your house. You buy a barrel, some spring components, some trigger components, and at the bottom of the table, you have the completed product, which is a semi-automatic handgun. The other guns on display are assault weapons made from, if you look below the polymer 80 box, that is a lower receiver to a rifle, generally your AR-15 style rifle. You can buy that lower receiver on the internet, just like the polymer 80 handgun. It gets sent to your house. You buy some trigger components, a barrel, you can mill it and drill it, and you will have what you see here, a completed product, which is a rifle.
And the completed product is legal to own for personal use?
In the state of California, you would have to get a FUMBUS number within 10 days of assembly or manufacturing that firearm.
I'm sorry, what is it?
It's a FUMBUS number, firearm manufactured by unlicensed subject. Yeah, it is the serial number for a non-serialized gun.
Okay.
So that case is from the Foothill area. These other cases were from the, I don't want to get too into specifics, but from the Valley Bureau area of the LAPD.
The machinery that you have up there with the seals, what are those items?
This right here is a 3D printer as well. That is a drill and a press that you use to manufacture various stages of firearms as well. The one on the right is a 3D printer. One example of what a 3D printer can do is the gray bottom lower receiver of the rifle. That is a 3D printed lower receiver for a rifle.
Thank you all.
I would like to also introduce Chief Labrada for Spanish. If you don't plan on recording for Spanish, if you can be cognizant of the audio for those Spanish outlets that will be doing that now. Thank you. Chief Labrada.
Muy buenas tardes, gracias por los que están aquí hoy para la representación de la Policía de Los Ángeles acerca de una nueva iniciativa que tenemos con el LACrimestoppers.org. Esta es una organización que recibe información en la comunidad para reportar delitos. En este caso, somos compañeros en este esfuerzo para recibir información acerca de armas ilegales en nuestras calles. Como tenemos aquí a la izquierda, tenemos armas que fueron construidas en un hogar, en un garage, en una investigación. Y en esos casos, estas armas no tienen número serial. Esas armas no se pueden buscar cuando hay algún delito, no tienen números. Es difícil que las personas puedan detectar de dónde recibieron estas armas. El problema más importante que causa para nosotros en esos detalles es que no sabemos quién obtuvo la pistola. Y más importante, esas pistolas, las que lo están construyendo en sus hogares, en garajes, en otros edificios, están vendiendo esas armas a personas que no deben de tener armas. Y el problema para nosotros, como sabemos que esas armas que ven aquí, esas armas no se usan para cazar en los valles. Esas armas se usan para cazar personas. Y es un gran problema, como estamos viendo en nuestras comunidades, las personas que han fallecido en nuestras calles por esas armas. Aquí en el centro tenemos fotos de lo que usan para construir estas armas ilegales. Y esas armas, como les dije, no tienen número serial y son usadas nada más para matar a personas y causan los daños en nuestra comunidad. Y la importancia del programa hoy es que la comunidad puede reportar esos detalles anónimamente. Se puede reportar 1-800 Ask LAPD también, y es anónimo. Ahí tenemos números de español que podemos ofrecer también, pero más importante, pueden recibir recompensa de cientos de dólares, y en muchos casos, si son muchas armas, hasta miles de dólares pueden recibir de recompensa por reportar esos delitos anónimamente.
¿Cuándo ha sido la comparación del año pasado a este año, el incremento de cuántas armas son armas fantasmas?
Sí, hemos tenido el número subido, que ha subido de armas. Más de 30% ha subido el número de armas que hemos obtenido más del año pasado. Es decir, que más armas de estas fantasmas, es decir, están en nuestras calles hoy en día y que están recuperando los oficiales.
El jefe Moore estaba hablando que 2 de cada 3 de armas fantasmas, y el incremento que eran 800 hace 2 años, y ahora son... ¿Me puedes dar esas cifras, por favor, para tener comparación?
Sí, tengo las cifras, se las daré después, si gusta.
¿Nos puedes dar, por favor?
Sí. La pregunta acerca del número de armas que se fueron usadas en nuestras calles, los porcentajes. Tenemos ahorita compared to last year. Comparadamente, se recuperaron totalmente más de 6,800 armas en 2021. En el 2022 se recuperaron 6,524 armas totales. Y como dije, 30% de esas armas que han subido son números de armas fantasmas.
Y la última pregunta, en estos últimos años solo una vez solo una arma fantasma, pero ahora era 2 de cada 3. Solo eso es.
Sí, ahorita, como dije, los números que han subido, las cifras de los números de armas fantasmas, estamos viendo los niveles subir de arrestos, pero también hemos visto muchos incidentes que tenemos oficiales que han sido disparados por incidentes de armas también de fantasma. Hemos subido 9 incidentes este año que han usado a individuos armas fantasmas con nuestros oficiales para dispararles.
A comparación del año pasado que era uno, ¿verdad?
Sí.
¿Qué es lo que están enfrentando las personas que construyen esas armas ilegales?
Bueno, ahorita tenemos cargos que pueden ser federales, que pueden recibir hasta 10 años. Tenemos también cargos estatales y locales, municipales aquí, que pueden recibir hasta 1 año de cárcel. Pero más importante, pues, recuperando esas armas, quitándolas de las calles, es lo más importante para nosotros. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for coming, and some of these individuals will be available for interviews as you need them if you want to contact them outside. Captain Kronz also speaks Spanish. Thank you.